I bought the watch in the early 80s from a friend of mine, a jeweler in Phoenix, and I was going to buy a Rolex GMT, and he said, oh, no, no. He says, I've got this watch. I want you to see it. It's a unique watch. He said, Rolex made this thing for cave explorers. He said, it's got a 24-hour hand on it, and it's got real bright, luminous face and hands on it. And I said, okay, I'll take it. And about 6 months later, it wouldn't glow in the dark anymore. So I took it back to him and I said, I can't see the hands at night. So he got a hold of Rolex and they sent a brand new face and all new hands for the watch, which did glow in the dark, and they did last for 3 or 4 or 5 years.
The Explorer II Reference 1655 had a bright 24-hour hand and a fixed bezel marked with all 24 hours. The watch is in great shape. One reason is that it is made of stainless steel, a metal that resists corrosion and wear. Early Explorer II watches like this had an acrylic crystal on the face instead of sapphire glass because they were originally made for explorers who needed a very tough watch. On many Rolex watches, people have replaced the original dial and hands when they serviced the watch. But this owner kept the original dial and original hands that Rolex sent back to him.
So affectionately known as Steve McQueen, a reference 1655. What I find interesting is you bought it in the early 80s. You look at the serial number on this watch, it's from 1972.
It is a small piece of history that shows how watches were built for real work and how people form deep personal bonds with what they wear.
You remember what you paid for it?
No, I thought maybe around $2,000, I think, maybe $1,800.
If you had just brought the watch in without all the other paraphernalia, great watch, at auction, I probably would place this watch $8,000 to $12,000.
Okay.
Okay? But it's all about the dial. Everything changes. So with the dial, that could be put back on.
Right.
And the original hands, and with the box and papers, all of a sudden this watch goes from $8,000 to $12,000 to being $18,000 to $24,000.
I'm going to need a security guard, Kevin.
We can get that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I brought here was my father's Panerai Italian military wristwatch that he got during World War II from an Italian prisoner because he acted as a military interpreter in an Italian prison that was here in the United States. My dad either bought the watch off of a prisoner or traded something or another. I'm not exactly sure.
Panerai is an Italian watchmaker that became famous not in jewelry stores but in war. This watch is a Panerai radiomere, reference 3646. This model was made between 1940 and 1945. It was produced in partnership with Rolex, which is an important detail in understanding why this watch exists at all.
The radiomere part refers to the radium on the dial, which was perfected by Panerai. The radiomere part referring to the radium is just that. Radioactive, dangerous, and poisonous radium used on the dials so that they glow in the dark.
Wow.
The watch is very large. Inside the watch is essentially a Rolex pocket watch movement. This combination brought together Panerai's luminous technology and Rolex's engineering. The crystal on the watch appears yellow. This is not damage from misuse. When the back is removed, the black dial becomes visible. The dial is made of celluloid. Over time, celluloid can warp or buckle.
This one is 1940 to 1945. This is the first one to ever come to Roadshow.
It tells a story of war fought underwater, of prisoners held far from home, and of a translator who carried a small piece of enemy equipment back into peacetime.
The issues are the crystal that turned a bit yellow, and your dial, it's a celluloid dial. As we can see, it's starting to buckle a little bit, but it certainly is repairable. So now, in terms of a value, any idea?
$7,000.
In today's market, retail, this watch will bring $50,000 to $60,000.
Holy moly. That's a lot more than 7.
We'd gone to Europe in 1958 to visit places that my father had known when he was a child. And we were shopping in Geneva in Switzerland, and we saw this watch in the window of a watch shop. We all admired it, and then we left. And my father secretly went back and bought the watch and gave it to my mother for Christmas. It was a nice surprise, and we all recognized it. We all said, "Oh, that beautiful watch." I don't wear it very much because I'm just not used to dressing up with jewelry a lot, but my mother was, and I can picture it on her arm. It's simple, but it's beautiful.
Rolex is one of the most famous watch names in the world, and it began in Switzerland in the early 1900s. At first glance, the piece looks like a gold and diamond bracelet. The surprise comes when you realize there is a watch hidden inside. The bracelet is made entirely of 18-karat gold. The engraving is done by hand and shows stylized leaf patterns. The gold is thick and strong, not thin or hollow. The diamonds on the top of the bracelet total about 2/3 of a carat. By modern grading standards, they would fall around F to G color with VVS clarity. This means they are bright, clean, and high quality. The bracelet measures 6.5 inches. It shows how everyday moments can turn into lasting treasures. That is what gives this watch its true weight.
Do you have any idea what your dad paid for it back in '58 or '59?
I was maybe 13 or 14 years old, and money was my main interest.
Generally speaking, it probably would have been somewhere in the $500 to $700 price range. In 2022, in the retail market, this watch would probably be priced somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000.
Wow, I thought it would be $1,000, something like that. I don't buy jewelry.
Each link's $1,000.
Wow.
My uncle, my father's brother, he had passed it down to me. I guess he bought it while he was out in California. And him and his wife, in 1997, they moved to Georgia because he wanted to be close to his brother, which is my father. And within a year, his wife passed away. He stayed down there with us, and he eventually moved into assisted living. He would always complain. He said, "Oh," he said, "I keep misplacing this watch." And he said, "Here, I'm gonna give it to you." I wore it a couple of times, but the majority of the time it was in safe deposit box.
This watch comes from one of the most famous names in luxury watches, Rolex. Founded in 1905 in London by Hans Wilsdorf, Rolex moved to Geneva, Switzerland in 1919 and became known for making precise, durable, and stylish watches.
And what I really like about it is it's not one of the newer ones, it's an older one.
Yes.
It's an early Day-Date. It was manufactured by the seal number about 1964, and I believe it was sold in 1965.
The watch is all 18-karat gold and has the original bracelet. Both the case and the bezel are original, and the movement inside is untouched. It even still has the original red leather box. The watch also comes with a chronometer bulletin showing the serial number for both the case and the movement, and an original booklet from 1964. The champagne gold dial of this watch adds extra beauty, though there is a small crack on the acrylic crystal. They are not just tools to tell time. They are stories you can wear on your wrist.
Any idea what your uncle paid for it when he got the watch?
No,
If you had to venture a guess on the value, what would you consider value on this would be?
I would say somewhere between $9,000, $12,000, but now that you say it's an earlier model, I would say $15,000, somewhere around there.
You're getting close. Your watch today at auction, I see it bringing, with everything that it has with it, it would definitely sell easily in the $18,000 to $20,000 range.
It's good. It's really good.
Nice gift.
Nice gift.
This is a Rolex Day-Date model. I bought it in 1964. It became known later as the presidential model when Lyndon Baines Johnson got one as a gift, and his was the 18-karat gold plate.
And where did you buy it?
I bought it in Hong Kong. I'd been drafted into the Army, and I was in Korea. During a tour of duty in Korea, you got a 1-week R&R, either Tokyo or Hong Kong. My wife at the time and I met in Hong Kong, and she bought this for me as my birthday present.
The Rolex Day-Date is one of the most famous watches ever made. The owner had originally hoped to get the 18-karat yellow gold model, but it was sold out. Instead, he chose the 18-karat white gold with a fluted bezel. What makes this watch even more special is that it comes with its original box, papers, and hang tags. The box is made from ostrich skin and even has a Japanese custom seal from when he traveled through Japan. The papers include the original timing certificate from 1962.
The stamp on the paper here shows us that it was timed in 1962.
The dial is called a pie pan dial with a silver satin finish and raised markers. The bracelet is the presidential style, which is a signature of the Day-Date line and adds to its elegance. Its rarity, pristine condition, and complete accessories make it a true collector's item and a beautiful reminder of the past.
In terms of the value, any idea?
Might be a few $1,000s.
This foil oyster shell-looking hang tag. Collectors are crazy for those because everybody threw them out. These by themselves are worth $500 and up. Just for that.
Just a little piece of foil.
That's right. In today's market, because it's a whole complete set and the watch is in such great condition, a retail price on this is going to be $20,000.
Oh my. Well, it kept up with the times. I'm glad to hear that. Wonderful. Thank you.
In 2007, I was working in the Virginia Army National Guard, and I had a sergeant major who presented me with an opportunity to buy several Rolexes. They were all older. He was into the estate hunting business, and I said, sure, I'll take it.
Rolex is one of the most famous watch brands in the world. Today we are focusing on one of those watches, a Rolex model 1680 Submariner. It was made in the early 1970s and is from the first generation of Submariner watches that had a date window at 3 o'clock. In the 1970s, Rolex did not build Submariners in gold and steel together, so someone later added gold hands, a gold crown, and a gold bezel.
The serial number of this watch dates it to about 1974.
Okay.
There were no gold and stainless versions of a Submariner during that time period. The dial appears to be correct. It's called a Mark IV dial. The insert, which is what's inside the gold bezel, is called a Mark III.
Okay.
So those two things correspond perfectly with the 1974 production date.
A Submariner 1680 from that era is powered by the Rolex Caliber 1575 movement, a self-winding mechanical movement that includes the date function. The frame and look of the watch has an acrylic crystal, not modern sapphire, which gives it a slightly domed appearance. The Cyclops lens over the date window makes the date larger and easier to read. This watch carries both history and character, blending Rolex innovation with decades of life lived by its owner.
So from a standpoint of value, today at retail, as a Frankenstein, this would probably trade somewhere between $15,000 to $17,000.
Okay.
My father got that watch in 1969 in Hong Kong on his way to Vietnam. He wore it all through Vietnam and gave it to me when I graduated high school. And I wore it while I went through the Naval Academy and to Iraq and through a 20-year career in the Navy. And I'm planning to pass it on to one of my kids at some point in the future.
Rolex is one of the most famous watch brands in the world. The Rolex Explorer I model, like this one, has a long history linked to real adventures. The Explorer line was first introduced in 1953. The black face of the watch has simple hour markers with big numbers at 3, 6, and 9. A black dial like this makes the time easy to see in daylight or darkness. The numbers and hands glow in the dark so you can still read the time at night. A tool watch is made to be used in real life and tough conditions. Explorer watches have simple, strong shapes and a strong case that keeps out water. The watch also has what we call a Jubilee bracelet. The Rolex Explorer tells a story of service, history, and legacy, not just time. It's a watch that did its job and carried the memories of a lifetime.
Any idea of valuation on it?
I think $7,000 or so, just about what it would be to replace it.
You know what your father paid for it?
I do, actually. He said he paid $110 for it in 1969 in Hong Kong.
They're quite collectible. Your watch easily at auction, $12,000 to $15,000 is what it would sell for.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Oscar,
Hey,
tell me what you brought today.
I brought a Rolex. My dad left it when he passed away. When we were growing up, my twin and I, we would always kind of fight for it because we always thought it was like a nice piece of watch. He decided at the end that he would give it to whomever would go the farthest in education. So we were kind of competing growing up. We studied the same things, graphics and arts and all that. At the end, I got a master's degree, and it ended up on my end. But we share it. I share it with my brother. It's just something sentimental.
The Rolex Daytona Cosmograph is one of the most legendary wristwatches ever made.
The reference number is a 6263. I looked at the serial numbers, and this watch was manufactured in 1978.
It is a manual wind watch with a classic chronograph function, meaning it can measure time intervals with its separate timing dials. Looking at this watch, you see 3 subdials for timing minutes and hours, separate from the main second hand. The black and white color pattern of this watch is called a panda dial. Some Daytonas have larger red lettering, known as Big Red, while others have smaller text. The buttons on the side of the watch are screw down, which means they twist to lock into place. Inside this, Daytona is a hand-wound mechanical movement called the caliber 727. The crystal, which is the clear cover over the dial, is made of acrylic plastic. To collectors, it is a classic vintage timepiece with a design and history that has captured the hearts of watch lovers for decades.
So, in today's retail market, this watch is going to sell $95,000 to $105,000.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Really, it's crazy because I've worn it on the subway sometimes. And knowing that I've got like $100,000 in my wrist. Wow, that's insane. Thank you, Dad.
In the spring of 1995, I read an article about the Rolex Daytona. I'd always been a car enthusiast, and I could appreciate that it had a great history around car racing, and I just love the look of the watch. And so I went to a Rolex dealer, and they basically laughed at me and said, we get 1 or 2 of these a year, so pretty much forget about it. So I started looking in the classified ads. And sure enough, a gentleman about 100 miles away from me was advertising 2 of these watches, a white face and a black face. I called him immediately and said I'd like to purchase the white face. And he said, well, I think I'm going to keep that for myself, but I'm willing to sell you the black face.
In 1995, a man became interested in the Rolex Daytona, one of the most famous watches in the world.
You have one of the newer versions of the Daytona Cosmograph, which used an automatic winding movement manufactured by Zenith. It was the El Primero movement. They were the only people making an automatic chronograph movement at the time.
The version he bought between 1994 and 1995 used an automatic chronograph movement made by Zenith, called the El Primero. The black dial also added value.
Between 1994 and 1995, Rolex used an organic varnish on the face of the watch.
Exposure to sunlight changes the color slightly over time. For collectors, this patina actually makes the watch more valuable. His black dial developed this character naturally because he wore it outside. The Daytona is closely linked to legends like Paul Newman, whose own Daytona watches are famous worldwide. Rolex, founded in 1905 in London and later moved to Switzerland, is known for high-quality craftsmanship and keeping designs timeless. With the paperwork and original tags, his Daytona is even more collectible. Rolex Daytonas are pieces of history, connections to racing legends, and symbols of patience and taste.
I see you paid $5,700 for it, which your wife was worried about you making a poor investment with another baby coming into the family. What do you think this watch is worth today?
I'm thinking in the $20,000 range, maybe.
Well, this model today, the Zenith chronographs right now, are really trading around $20,000 to $25,000 right now at auction. Add the paperwork to it. Now you've got it up to $30,000.
Wow.
Now, add the fact that you wore it outside and hung it up on the fence.
Right.
And let the UV rays do their number on that dial. Almost doubles the value. This is $50,000 to $60,000 at auction right now.
Wow. I would not have thought that at all. Wow. That's surprising to me.
So, you know, it's not every day you get 10 times on your investment, okay?
For sure.
And if you had the white dial, I think it's going to go back down to the $30,000 range at auction. So it was a good thing that the guy would not sell you the white.
Yeah. I've been very happy with the black dial, actually.
It's worked out really well with you.
Turned 35, and I had these moments in my life where you start to recalibrate and you're trying to figure out how to create meaning in milestone ages. And so when 35 came, I said, I need a 35-year-old hobby.
Jason Reynolds is an author known for his books that speak directly to young readers. The Rolex GMT he purchased was made in 1966. Over time, moisture caused the dial to develop a unique pattern called spiderwebbing. Jason's other notable acquisition is a silver Rolex that he found while traveling in London. This watch is an officer's trench watch, a style originally made for military officers in the early 20th century. These watches often had radium on the numbers for nighttime visibility, but the dial on Jason's watch is porcelain. Both pieces tell stories of innovation, style, and heritage. For someone who enjoys simple, lived-in aesthetics in clothing and home decor, these watches offer a contrast, refined, carefully made objects with their own life stories. By starting this collection thoughtfully, he has created a lifelong hobby that will continue to grow and inspire.
What did you pay for the watch?
I paid about 30 grand.
Okay, so you could see something like this from a dealer somewhere in a retail store that wasn't high up on the market, marking this 20, 22, 23,000. You could have somebody who was hoping to get $35,000 to $45,000. You're in it in the right range. It's a solid watch. They're super rare. So you've got a lot going for it. It's a cool watch.
Perfect.
You see these out there at a variety of price points. You'll see them priced anywhere from in the $1,500 to $2,500 range, and you see them on up to $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, they're out of fashion today. You've got a good eye. You did very well. You got very safe pieces. Hopefully you'll continue watch collecting for forever.
We'll see.
We need to keep the hobby going strong in your generation.
For sure, for sure.
I was at a local estate sale, and there was a big pile of jewelry, and right in the middle of it was this watch. So I picked it up and carried it with me through the sale, and when we were leaving, the man said, that will be $10. And I said, okay, thank you, and I walked out and put it away and looked at it later and thought it was kind of special because it said Rolex, but I didn't know if it was real or not.
And have you had it appraised before?
My husband took it to a local appraisal fair. Somebody said to him that he would give him $800 for it. And my husband called and I said, no, I think we'll keep it.
Rolex changed the watch world forever before dive watches and giant sport watches became a thing. This particular watch was produced around the early 1940s. It has a 14-karat gold case and a unique design that makes the back bulge out, earning it the informal name Bubbleback among collectors. The case is thicker in the back to fit the automatic winding mechanism inside.
It's nicknamed the Bubbleback. It was the first ever good automatic wristwatch.
With the Bubbleback, a tiny rotor inside spun with the motion of your arm. That stored energy and kept the watch running without daily winding. The bracelet on the watch is not original. Back in the 1940s, these watches were usually sold on leather straps. Metal bracelets became fashionable later in the 1950s and 1960s. It represents a time when wristwatches were changing from basic tools to objects people collected and cared about.
I have to say, I think whenever you take it to get appraised and someone wants to buy it from you rather than appraising it, you have to be a little cautious. Red flags have to start flying, but you definitely made the right decision.
Oh, wonderful.
For a watch like this, in this type of condition, I think realistically, at auction purposes, you'd be looking around $4,000.
Wow. That is great.
It actually belongs to my husband, but you know, Texas is a community property state, so I figure it's mine too. After having had his first Rolex bought off his wrist when we were living in South America, he went to the PX in Panama, we're retired military, and bought this. He bought it in 1966, and he was en route to Vietnam for the first tour. So it has endured a helicopter crash because he was with the first of the 9th of the 1st Cav Division. It went through another tour in Vietnam, and then he came home and was having a little brawl with our son, a fun time, dropped the watch, broke it, so I had to have it repaired.
Rolex did not start with just looking good. It began in 1905, in London, England, when a man named Hans Wilsdorf dreamed of making a watch that was both precise and reliable.
It was very popular for this bezel, which was this blue and red.
Right.
It's referred to in the business as a Pepsi bezel.
This particular model is called Reference 1675. The 1675 was the first GMT Master to have crown guards, which are little shoulders around the winding crown that protect it from damage. Some had glossy dials with gold writing. Later ones had matte black dials with white letters. The bezel colors often faded in the sun, turning light blue or purple. Inside, this GMT Master uses a high-quality automatic movement made by Rolex. It keeps time and moves the extra GMT hand that shows a second time zone. It tells a story of service, of travel, of survival, and of family moments. That is why people collect vintage watches. They are not just objects.
So I'm going to start off with this watch at auction is worth $8,000 to $10,000.
Okay, good.
Good, right?
Big return on his investment.
Big return. If it had all been original, $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word.
This is a watch that belonged to my father, and I inherited it from him when he passed away about 30 years ago. I believe my mom told me at one point that it was given to him. He was an accountant, and it was given to him in lieu of cash for some work he did for someone. So I don't know that he actually paid money for it. I didn't wear it for very long. I was waiting tables at the time, and I thought having a Rolex on my wrist probably wasn't going to help my tips too much. So I took it off, I put it in a drawer, and it's been sitting there for 30 years.
This watch we are talking about is a Rolex Daytona Reference 6263.
I believe my mom told me at one point that it was given to him. He was an accountant, and it was given to him in lieu of cash for some work he did for someone. So I don't know that he actually paid money for it. I was told that it would cost me about $500 to have it opened up and get it running again, and I wanted to see if it was going to be worth investing that much money into the watch.
The reference is 6263. The serial number on this watch dates it to 1980.
What makes it stand out is the screw-down pushers on the side. The black ring around the face is the tachymeter bezel. It has a manual wound movement that requires winding by hand, not automatic. It is powered by a movement known as the Valjoux 727. On this watch's face, you see 3 small circles called subdials. These are part of the chronograph, which is just a fancy word for a stopwatch built into the watch. The big red Daytona writing on the dial is special to certain 6263 models. These watches are rare. Only a limited number were made over nearly 2 decades. A Rolex Daytona is more than a watch. It is a piece of history tied to sports, racing, and craftsmanship.
What would you think something like this would be?
I've looked online and I've seen people selling similar watches from anywhere from $1,000 or $2,000 to tens of thousands. I have no idea where this would fall.
If you were to have it repaired, anything cosmetic, you do not touch on this watch.
Okay.
Something cosmetic, you could lose as much as $10,000 to $20,000.
Wow. Wow.
A retail value would be $70,000 to $90,000.
Okay. Not running?
Not running.
Wow. Okay.
As long as everything's there, having it running is an easy fix.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I think a $500 repair is
that's a solid investment.
Is an okay investment.
Yeah.
You could do worse.
Well, my father gave it to me for graduating high school. His father gave him one. It's been my everyday watch. I wear it all the time.
And what year did you graduate high school?
1984.
Rolex is one of the world's most famous watch brands. Today's story is about a Rolex Explorer II.
The model is the 1655.
It has a fixed 24-hour bezel and a big 24-hour hand. This Rolex Explorer II came new in a box. It was likely made around 1980. What makes this piece even more interesting is that the dial, bezel, and hands are believed to be all original. It has a stainless steel case, oyster bracelet, and a tough movement inside. The movement, known as caliber 1575, kept accurate time and was robust enough for everyday use. The 1655 Explorer II was only produced for about 14 years before Rolex changed the design. In the end, this Rolex Explorer II Reference 1655 shows how practical design, Swiss craftsmanship, and human memories come together in one beautiful object.
From a value standpoint, any idea?
I have no idea other than seeing what a Explorer II goes for on the market today, which is what, 2,000?
Well, this particular watch, it's very collectible today, and it's a pretty desirable model.
Really?
So at an antique show, this watch would probably sell on the retail level for somewhere between $12,000 to $14,000.
Really? Wow, that's amazing.
And you're just wearing it as the everyday beat-around watch.
I've dove with it. I've been in caves.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Now, do you still have the box and the papers?
I believe I do. I believe I do.
And that adds a little bit of extra value from a collector standpoint. So if you
great.
do, go home and dig
Great.
them out.
I will.
I was a lieutenant stationed in Japan in 1971, and a friend was going to Hong Kong, said he was going to buy a Rolex watch, and he asked if I would like to get one also. It cost $110, so I gave it to him. He went to Hong Kong and came back with this watch for me. I've run with it, I've surfed with it, I've scuba dived with it, I've orienteered with it, I've backpacked with it. I was body surfing off of Solana Beach and came up and the watch was gone, and I couldn't find it in the surf. My roommate was the captain of the county lifeguards. 3 days later, he came in, said at low tide, a young girl, about 7 or 8 years old, had found this watch and brought it to the lifeguard headquarters. I never found out who she was. I wanted to reward her, but I've always appreciated that.
Rolex has made the Submariner line since the 1950s, and these watches were first created for real divers who worked underwater. Today we are looking at a Rolex Submariner from around 1971 that has red printed text on the dial.
It has some very collectible features on it. On the dial, the Submariner is printed in red ink.
Yes.
You said you got it in, what year again, 1971?
1971.
That's the right time frame for the watch.
The appraiser explained why this watch is so collectible. First, it is a true vintage Rolex from 1971, which means it was made over 50 years ago. Second, the watch still has its original dial with red printing. The bezel has faded from deep black to a grayish tone. The bracelet is stretched and worn from years of use. The crystal has scratches from all the adventures the watch went through. Even though the watch shows wear, it has not been refurbished in a way that changes its originality. They show the early days when sport watches were tools for explorers and adventurers, long before smartwatches and digital timepieces existed.
Market's very strong right now on this watch, and even with the condition issues that we've discussed, this watch today easily retails for $20,000 to $25,000.
$20,000 to $25,000.
Yes.
My son will buy breakfast this morning when he finds that out. He's going to get this watch. Well, that's amazing.
Exactly, bought it. He worked in Alaska on the pipeline, and he wore this for years and years, and about 10 or 15 years ago, he gave it to me to potentially give to one of my kids. But I need to repair it, or at least get maintenance done on it.
And you brought it here to find out what?
Is it worth repairing?
Okay.
Rolex is one of the most famous watch brands in the world.
These watches are incredibly popular now. This watch was made in the year 1974, and what's incredibly interesting about it is he kept every single thing he got with it.
The Rolex Submariner is one of the most iconic models ever made. What makes it rare is that the owner kept everything it originally came with: the box, the hand tag, the warranty, and even the little green tag that shows it has a screw-down crown. The original warranty is written in French because Rolex is a Swiss company, and different regions had warranties in their local languages.
Generally, because the Submariner was a work watch, it came on a different bracelet called the Oyster bracelet. It was, instead of the links being small like this, they were larger and flat. Because it's a time period correct bracelet, it probably was just factory installed. He may have just said, oh, I like the other bracelet in the deal, or just would have switched it.
What makes this particular Submariner even more desirable is the feet-first dial. On the watch face, the depth rating lists feet before meters. Also, the word Submariner is printed in red instead of white. The hour markers are coated with tritium, a luminous material used in the 1970s. Over time, these markers have taken on a warm honey gold color. It is not just a tool, but a piece of history that links work, family, and style.
So you add the box, the papers, the tags, the sticker, everything completely original, the dial being in fantastic condition, and you've got a watch today in 2018 that would very easily sell in the retail market for $28,000.
Okay, so yes, I have to get it repaired.
I think it's probably worth spending the money to get it repaired, yes. On a watch like this, Rolex will replace any items that are not up to par. So the dial would actually have to be replaced. So it has to really be repaired in the secondary market because the dial alone is probably $6,000 to $10,000. So to do the repair on the watch, it probably would cost somewhere between $900 and $1,400. And then in total running condition, it would probably increase the watch to maybe $32,000.
When I was 18, I was living with my uncle, and I joined the military, and he gave me this watch when I joined the military. It was in Vietnam from '69 to '70, and he bought it at the PX there for $100. I wore it every day, and I wore it at work throughout my whole police career. It's been beat up quite a bit, as you can imagine, in search warrants or trying to arrest suspects and getting smashed to the ground trying to arrest somebody that's fighting. And so it's had a rough life. It's been in 49 years of battle, it seems like.
When the Rolex GMT Master was first made in the 1950s, it was created for pilots to track 2 time zones at once. It was born out of a partnership between Rolex and Pan American World Airways.
Recently, GMT Masters have become very collectible watches. This particular one was manufactured in 1967.
In the photo the owner brought, his uncle is getting promoted to first lieutenant while wearing the watch. Some early GMT Masters had a 2-color bezel known as the Pepsi design because it looks like a red and blue soda logo. Other versions have aluminum bezels that change color over time. Even though this watch's face has been refinished and it shows heavy wear, it still holds strong value. Watches that were worn by soldiers or travelers often tell a story that collectors love. This watch is not just a Rolex brand name, it is part of 2 lifetimes of service. It was made for people who lived hard and meaningful lives.
But all that being said, your watch still today would easily retail from between $7,500 and $8,500.
Man, if I didn't known that, I don't think I would have wore it to Afghanistan. I wore that every day in Afghanistan.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I can't believe.
When my mother passed away, I found this watch in a little box full of trinkets that she had left, and I noticed that the watch said Rolex.
Everyone knows Rolex as one of the most famous watch brands in the world. What makes this Bubbleback special is the hooded lugs. These are pieces of metal that almost cover the ends of the watch case where the strap connects. Many Bubblebacks didn't have them. The hooded design was produced only in a few versions from the 1930s and 1940s. These hooded models are rare and highly prized by collectors today. This watch is also two-tone, which means it has gold and stainless steel together. Rolex calls that style rollsore. Two-tone watches were popular because they were both elegant and strong. The gold adds beauty, while the steel adds durability. The Bubbleback will continue to be treasured by anyone who loves vintage timepieces and the rich heritage behind them.
These watches in today's market easily fetch somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000.
He's my great uncle, and he was in the Air Force, and he retired a brigadier general. He traveled all over the world. He was in lots of military battles, flew fighter planes all over during the war, retired to Virginia, and he was a member of all different kinds of military organizations.
And he was in World War II also.
Yes.
And a fighter pilot in World War II.
This story is about a rare vintage watch and a real World War II hero. The first photo shows him climbing into one of the jets he flew. The next picture shows Jimmy Stewart. The owner's great-uncle served on a NATO committee in the 1960s. The box was made of sterling silver and was engraved with dates from 1965 to 1967.
This particular one was built in 1949.
This one has a 30-minute register, anti-magnetic protection, and even a telemeter scale. The telemeter helped pilots and drivers measure distance based on the speed of sound. The watch also has a gold bezel and luminous hands and dial. Inside, it likely carries the Valjoux 23 movement. The original crystal on this watch was cracked and old, but beneath it, the dial was in pristine condition. It is a watch that kept time for a life of service. It is history on the wrist.
So, any idea what the value of this watch is?
I have no idea.
At retail, the value of the box would be around $1,000, and the value of the watch would be very easily $70,000.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It's the real deal. If the crystal was off, that dial would just glow. With a loop, I was able to look in through sort of the stained and cracked crystal to see what's under there. And
Wow.
I was in shock when I realized how perfect that was. Just an amazing piece that he left you.
Wow. Thank you.
Did you have any idea?
No.
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 So tell me what you brought us in today.
A opal bracelet.
Opal bracelet? And how did you get it?
I inherited it from my great aunt.
Where was she from?
Chicago.
Chicago?
She had a collection of opals.
Some watches are more than tools for telling time. Rolex is one of the most famous watchmakers in the world.
Manufactured around 1950.
The opal in this piece is a cabochon opal. That means the stone is polished smooth without cuts or edges. You can see green and red flashes as the light moves across the stone. Under the opal lid is the Rolex watch face. The small crown logo on the dial is the mark of Rolex. The bracelet itself is made of 18-karat gold. Gold that is 18 carats contains 75% pure gold, mixed with other metals for strength. There are almost no scratches or wear. The strap and buckle look consistent with pieces made in the middle of the 20th century. This opal bracelet watch is more than jewelry. It is a piece of both gemstone and watch history.
Any idea as to the value?
I don't know, maybe 1,500?
Your watch is very collectible. The market on these are not so much in the United States, it's more in Asia. And your watch today would easily retail for approximately $10,000 to $12,000.
Okay. Awesome. Wow.
Insurance, easily a minimum of $15,000 should be put on it for insurance valuation.
Terrific. Thank you.
Today I brought a Rolex watch that I purchased in 1973. And I purchased the watch because I was flying. I was a private pilot. I've been a private pilot since I was 20 years old. And what I was doing, I was finding sites for a national restaurant chain in South Dakota and Nebraska. I bought the watch hoping it would help with navigation, basically, because you can check a measured mile by the number of seconds it takes to go across the measured miles. It gives you your ground speed, so it helps you with your navigation, so to speak.
This watch changed how people think about wristwatches for pilots, racers, and collectors. The Rolex Daytona was first made in the 1960s. Today's story is about a Rolex Daytona that was bought new in 1973 by someone who used it not for racing, but to help fly small planes.
This particular model of Rolex Daytona is the reference number 6263. This is also known as the Paul Newman Daytona because actor Paul Newman was well known to have worn his from the late 60s into the 1970s.
This model is very special. It has 3 small dials on its face called registers. That is why we call it a triple register chronograph. The 6263 is a classic vintage Daytona with screw-down buttons and a black bezel. The owner kept the original Rolex box, the outer box, and even the original receipt from the 1973 purchase. Rolex Daytonas are a symbol of precision and endurance. They connect to racing, flying, and even Hollywood history.
So, over 40 years ago, you bought this watch brand new.
Yes.
You paid $543 for this watch.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's probably gone up a little bit. You have any idea what it might be worth today?
Oh, I have no idea what it would. I know Rolex are expensive watches.
Right. Being that this is a one-owner watch, your watch, you bought it new, and you kept the original boxes, I think that's going to add some value to it. So in today's market, retail, this watch is going to easily bring $100,000.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea that it would be that much. I'm in disbelief.
What I'm telling you is the truth. That is absolutely
Oh
correct.
my gosh.
I brought my Rolex GMT Master that I bought 55 years ago.
Where did you get it?
I bought it in Germany, in Zweibrücken, at a PX when I was in the Army over there. I bought the watch just before I came back to stateside. My sergeant recommended that before I came back to the States, buy a Rolex watch.
Why did he do that? Do you know?
Well, he thought that was the best watch ever made.
Rolex did not start as a luxury brand right away. It began in 1905 when Hans Wilsdorf and his brother-in-law Alfred Davis started a small watch company in London. This specific watch is called the Rolex GMT Master Reference 6542.
It is the first model GMT Master that Rolex ever made.
It was made in the late 1950s and was probably bought in 1960. The one here still has its original box, papers, chronometer certificate, hang tags, and receipt. It was the first GMT Master model ever made. Early examples had a bezel made from bakelite plastic with luminous numerals printed on it. Rolex stopped using bakelite soon after because it was fragile. The GMT Master has a separate 24-hour hand and a rotating bezel. The red 24-hour hand works with the bezel to tell time in a second time zone. It is a link to a lifetime of experiences. The watch shows how something small and personal can become a piece of history.
I'm very pleased to tell you that this watch today at auction is a very, very collectible watch. Just the watch on its own merit would be worth today between $35,000 and $45,000. But this watch is worth much more because you saved the box and all the paperwork for it. Easily today, it's $65,000 to $75,000 in the market. Wow. Probably more than a month's pay in the military right now.
Wow. I had no idea. I'm speechless.
Well, it belonged to my father, and I believe that his father purchased it for him.
Rolex is one of the most famous watchmakers in the world. The company was founded in 1905 in London by Hans Wilsdorf and Alfred Davis. The item we are looking at today is a Rolex Bubbleback from 1947. They got the name Bubbleback because the case back is round and thick, almost like a bubble. The model number of this watch is 3131. It is made of rose gold, also called pink gold, which gives it a warm color that stands out from more common yellow or white gold. This watch still has its original dial, which is a huge factor in its value. Owning a watch like this is a connection to the past. It is a reminder of the style, elegance, and innovation of the 1940s.
It would probably have a retail value in the $5,500 range.
Back in the 40s, there was an oil man here in Tulsa who would occasionally have wild parties. He'd rent a floor in the Mayo Hotel. When you got off the elevator, there was a basket of Rolex wristwatches, and that was the party favorite. My dad brought the watch home, wore it for years. When he died, I inherited the watch. Then I wore it for a long time. In about 1969, I had a car wreck, and the watch broke off the band. My sister came to see me in the hospital, asked if there was anything she could do, and I told her to stop at the scene of the wreck and see if she could find Dad's watch. She called me later that evening and said that she stopped the car at the scene of the wreck, opened the door, put her foot down, and there beside her foot was the watch. I quit wearing it. I know it's an amazing story, but I assure you, my part of it's true. The legend part, I can't verify.
Rolex was founded in 1905 by Hans Wilsdorf with one clear goal: to make wristwatches as reliable as pocket watches. In the 1920s and 30s, Rolex changed the industry by creating the first truly waterproof case, called the Oyster. This design used a screw-down crown and sealed case back, protecting the movement from dust, moisture, and shocks. During the 1940s, Rolex introduced the Oyster Perpetual Bubbleback, named for its rounded case that made room for an early self-winding movement. These models were advanced for their time, using automatic rotors, 26 jewel movements, and earning chronometer certification, meaning they met strict accuracy standards. Many were made during World War II, when precision engineering was highly valued. This particular watch was manufactured in 1944. It has the original black dial with radium numerals and hands, including the classic Mercedes hands. It's also a true Bubbleback with untouched parts, waterproof oyster case, and original serial numbers, making it a rare and well-preserved example of Rolex's golden era.
At auction, a watch like this today would probably bring somewhere in the neighborhood of $6,000. But I got to go right back to the story. It's the best part.
The story is wonderful, and we have no intention of selling the watch. It's the legend makes the watch more valuable to us.
I brought my stepfather's Rolex watch that I found with a bunch of medals and everything. He was a POW in World War II at Sagen, Germany.
I've brought my grandfather's watch. He was a naval aviator.
Since the early 20th century, Rolex has been shaping professional tool watches, but one of its most important breakthroughs came in the 1950s with the creation of the Rolex GMT Master. The model was originally developed in partnership with Pan American Airways for commercial pilots flying long-haul routes. At the time, jet travel was expanding fast, and pilots needed a way to track multiple time zones while in the air. The GMT solved this with a 24-hour hand and a rotating bezel, allowing the wearer to read 2 time zones at once, local time and Greenwich Mean Time, the global aviation standard. This made the GMT one of the most practical watches ever designed for aviation. What we have here is a Rolex GMT Reference 1675 from the 1970s, a highly respected era for the model. It still has its original dial, the signature red 24-hour hand, and has never been polished, which preserves its sharp edges and authentic finish. These details make it especially desirable and a true classic of pilot watch history.
This is what's called a 1675 reference number, and it hasn't been polished. It has original dial. GMTs are super sought after, especially early 70s ones. A watch like this would probably retail for about $5,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
The watch belonged to my uncle. The story is when my father died, my uncle came to live with my mother, and when he died, it was left in my mother's care. My mother went into a nursing home, and when we were cleaning the house out, the watch was in a polydent box in the cabinet. I shook the box and I said, there's something in there. I opened it up, and there was the watch, only the body. I've only had it cleaned once, and that was all I had to do.
In the early decades of the 20th century, long-term loyalty to a company meant something very real. Large institutions often rewarded dedication with finely made personal items, especially watches. In Canada, Eaton's was once the country's most powerful department store, employing thousands and operating almost like a small city. Employees who devoted decades of service were honored with special presentation watches, custom-made and engraved. During this same period, Rolex was still a young but ambitious company. Founded in 1905, it was gaining attention in the 1930s for precision movements and innovative designs. One of its standout models was the Rolex Prince, known for its rectangular shape and high-grade 18-jeweled movement, built for accuracy and durability at a time when mechanical precision mattered deeply. This watch carries the Eaton name on the dial, along with 1/4 Century Club, marking 25 years of service from 1916 to 1941. The back is engraved with Oscar Alvar's name, turning it into a personal record of a working life. Inside, it is signed Rolex and Company. Found without its original leather strap and cleaned only once, the watch survives today as both a timepiece and a quiet tribute to loyalty, craftsmanship, and early industrial history.
Fair market value at auction. This watch is worth between $5,000 and $6,000.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
This belonged to my father, and it was given to him by my grandmother, probably sometime in 1941 when he went into the service after Pearl Harbor. And he wore it throughout his service in the Air Corps, and he was shot down wearing this, and he wore it ever since.
In the picture here, we're looking at, this is your father right there.
Yeah, that's my dad.
He's wearing the watch in the picture, and this is when he's receiving the Purple Heart.
Yes.
During World War II, wristwatches became essential military tools. Pilots and soldiers depended on them for navigation, coordination, and survival. In the 1940s, Rolex had a unique relationship with the armed forces, producing rugged, highly legible watches designed specifically for military use. These watches focused on reliability, simple dials, and strong mechanical movements that could withstand harsh conditions. One special group of these was marked Rolex Army on the dial. These models were intended for soldiers and airmen and are now among the most sought-after military watches by collectors. Because many were heavily used in service, surviving examples are rare, especially in good condition. The watch here dates from the 1940s and was worn by a pilot in the U.S. Air Corps. There is even a photograph showing him wearing it while receiving the Purple Heart after being shot down during the war. The dial has been repainted over time, meaning it's no longer fully original, but it remains a rare military Rolex with powerful personal history, a true wartime survivor.
It would retail for $3,000 to $5,000 in the store. Unfortunately, because the dial has been refinished, it's about $2,000 in a retail shop.
It's still priceless. I brought my husband's Rolex pink gold watch. He got it from work. Someone asked him if he would be interested in purchasing it. He was needing some money, so he looked at it and thought, okay, and just went ahead and bought it.
When did your husband get this watch?
Sometime in the 80s. I can't remember exactly when.
So he helped somebody out with money. What did he pay for this one?
$60. We just were told it was a pre-World War II pink gold. Other than that, that's all we really know about it.
In the early 1940s, wristwatches were becoming everyday tools, not just luxury items. During this period, Rolex was already known for building strong, reliable watches that could handle daily wear. One of its most important breakthroughs came in 1933 with the introduction of the Bubbleback, one of the world's first automatic wristwatches. The name came from its rounded caseback, designed to hold the self-winding movement. The Bubbleback was also one of the first watches marketed as waterproof, making it ideal as a true workhorse watch. Many were made with simple white dials, but a few rare versions came with black dials and luminous numbers, which were meant to be readable in low light. These early luminous markers used radium, which was radioactive at the time. This watch dates to 1943 and is made in pink gold, with an 18-karat gold top and a steel back. It still has its original black dial, which is very rare because most dials were refinished during servicing. Even today, this watch can still be serviced and worn for decades, proving how well these early automatic watches were built.
This one's an 18-karat gold top with a steel back. The value of this, because of this particular dial, probably a retail value is about $5,000.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Wow!
I got this watch from my grandfather who passed away 3 years ago. We had it appraised about 2 years ago, and he said it was probably around $3,000, but I could put some work into it, maybe bump that value up to about $5,000 to $6,000.
Have you done any other research in terms of the history behind it?
I believe it's from the 50s.
What did your grandfather do for a living?
He was an electrical engineer.
By the 1950s, watchmaking had entered a golden age. Mechanical watches were no longer just accessories. They were essential tools for professionals. Swiss brands were competing to build watches that were tougher, more precise, and reliable in demanding environments. During this period, Rolex had already established itself as a leader in functional design, producing watches for people who worked in science, aviation, engineering, and motorsports. One major innovation of the time was the development of anti-magnetic watches, made to perform accurately around electrical and industrial equipment. A key example from this era is the Rolex Reference 6234, produced in 1954. It is an early sports chronograph, meaning it functions as a mechanical stopwatch. The two pushers on the case allow the wearer to start, stop, and reset time measurements, a feature widely used in racing and technical fields. This specific piece retains its original crystal, original hands, and a rare multicolored dial with white, blue, and black details. Despite its age, the dial is in excellent condition. Although the bracelet is not original, the watch itself reflects decades of careful use and real working history.
This piece, I think, estimate today for auction purposes is around $25,000 to $30,000. So it's a little higher than the value that
Yeah,
you're given.
absolutely.